When you were a kid, did you make up stories, make up games with your friends, draw random weird little things and create an entire backstory for them, play with characters, action figures, whatever it was, just make believe, goof off, and then let it all go at the end of the day? And sometimes it would live with you and stay with you and become this whole little universe that you would explain to other people, and sometimes you would just let it go and be done with it. Did you goof off as a kid? Did people go, hold on, get it together, be serious. We're trying to get stuff done here. Did you have that whole dynamic? What version of that did you have? And most importantly, do you still like goofing off? Because that's what I want to talk about today. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and as always, thank you for joining. Do any of you share this tendency with me to take things very seriously? It's an interesting little thing that I do, and I bet some of you do it too. Sometimes you take something very seriously and it makes it more fun. If you're a gamer and you've ever done competitive gaming, you know what I'm talking about. There's something about there being stakes. There's something about it being intense and betting everything on it, and it just being so important to you that makes it more fun in a weird way. If you are trying to metagame, if you are trying to make your character as powerful as possible and reach the greatest heights you can reach, if you're trying to get every single goal in the game done, you're trying to be a completionist, if you're trying to beat other teams into the absolute dust, there's an element of that that just feels fun. There's something about conquering it, completely mastering something, or just knocking it out of the park. And when you're taking it seriously and you get hopelessly defeated, the feeling of that defeat is so much stronger, so much more bitter. It can be a scene in a movie that has you just distraught, right? Whether that be just full of anger and rage and hate at a character, or having you on the verge of tears over somebody's death in a book that you're reading, some moving music. It can have that impact on you, but you are part of it. And that line getting so blurry in games is fascinating, because when you're watching a movie, it's a lot easier to step away from the emotional experience, especially if we compare it to like a competitive game where your ego gets involved in a much stronger way. But if you're watching a movie, you're relating to those characters pretty strongly. You feel those feelings, but you are not the one experiencing them. If you're playing a game, it blurs into your life much more aggressively during the playtime than watching a movie or reading a book. I'd say reading a book might be more intense in some way. You know what? It depends on how you interface with the media, right? Like, the medium? I guess either one works. It depends on how you're interfacing with it, how deeply invested you are, how much visual imagery you're creating while reading a book. Like, the book, as you read it, is your version of it, right? So it's more personalized. It's almost more intense than watching a movie if you're really engaged with kind of mentally painting a picture for yourself, whether that be a visual thing or hearing the characters speak or what have you. The point that I'm trying to get to here is that it can make things more fun, or it can intensify the emotional experience of whatever game you are playing, whatever piece of art that you are consuming, if you treat it as reality. I was going to say treat it seriously, but that's not quite what I mean. Right, you've got that guy when you're a kid, you're playing games on the playground, you're making stuff up, and everybody's kind of like, bending the rules a little bit. And there's that one kid who's like, no, 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 no. Those aren't the rules. We said this. We said that. And then sometimes they're completely right. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it does ruin the fun if we change this rule. We do need to stick with these rules. We need to not screw up the fun. And sometimes it's just like pure rules lawyer where it's like, come on, okay, we don't need to do everything to the absolute letter of the law. That kind of ruins the fun too. So what I'm getting at is there's this sense of let's have this be reality. Let's have this have firm boundaries. Let's have this be a universe in which we understand that this is solidly how things work. And that can be a very strange set of rules. That can be an odd universe. That can be. The rules can be based on not strict mathematical rules, physical rules, whatever. They can kind of be vibes. You can create a game in which the rules are based around whether or not everybody is having a good time. One thing that my friends and I started playing with very briefly was a version of Dungeons and Dragons that basically has no rule book other than here is a die. The DM is going to make up a roll, and he's gonna have you guys roll your dice, and it's gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's good enough or that's not good enough, right? It's going to be D&D that is 99% role play, 1% dice rolls, right? And depending on how the role play goes, we'll see how the dice rolls go. And we just have to trust everybody to not do some dumb, insane nonsense that makes them into superpower, whatever, right? It's like a good faith D&D. Everybody in the session is not gonna do power creep stuff. We're all going to work towards having the same fun. And yeah, you'll have some level ups just to give it a little bit of structure. But in terms of dice rolls, in terms of armor classes, in terms of all that stuff, we're vibing it out. And the DM has a little too much power maybe, but that's kind of what we're doing. That could be your rule base, right? It could be very loose, but still be taken as reality, still be taken very sincerely. The rule can just be that what the DM says goes, you know? The rule can be as simple as that, but there has to be some firm foundation for you to goof off on top of. And this is where I get to the part of this that I'm excited about, right? I tend to take things super seriously. I tend to grit my teeth and clench my jaw and give myself TMJ and headaches going, this is serious, this is important, this has to be right. I will play a little tactical game and I'll be like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? We got to do this right. And then sometimes I play a game and I go, oh, this is fun, this is goofy, this is great. and I recently didn't even play, watched somebody playing a game called The Dungeon Experience. It was the demo of The Dungeon Experience. And this thing opens with the goofy it's got like a little crab, and then the crab runs off screen and puts on like a little outfit and so on. And I'm trying not to spoil things. It's cute, it's charming, and it is immediately what the heck is going on here? Immediately in the demo, you get this sensation of like somebody is full on just goofing off, right? Like, I don't know what the rules of this world are yet, but this is way out there. You start to get some implications pretty quickly, though, and that's what interests me. I was watching this game, and I was like, how in the world does somebody make this? And I know that sounds weird, because what I'm describing is a game that is pure goofing off. It's like somebody just had an idea, threw it on the page, and then went, okay, let me just make that. But there's still a cohesion around it. These are the games that excite me. I love a game that makes no sense but still makes sense. I love a game that you look at and you go, what the heck is going on here? Why is there a barbarian statue being remote controlled by a guy working in a call center who has like debt from drama school? That is in like the first 5 minutes of this game's demo. Why is there a crab that is promising you that it'll play saxophone for you if you don't enjoy the demo? Like, what is this fourth wall break? It is so much. And yet, I was watching and I was like, this is very compelling. and it's pure goofing off. And I love that. So I want to challenge myself to, how do I put this? Embrace the goofing off angle a bit more. And I've done this a little bit in just like writing experiments and not much, but just a little bit. We'll get into this more in the develop portion, which we're coming up on pretty quick. But the idea being, you can take a world seriously. You can take it as reality. You can sincerely believe that everything going on around you is the reality of the world that you were engaged in. You can get invested in it. You can buy in. I think that's really the word that I'm looking for. You can have some real buy-in into the world, into the game, into everything going on, and still be goofing off. And I think I struggle to do that in games these days. And I'm wondering, did I always struggle to do that? Like, I've always bought into it. I've always bought into my own goofy little stories. I've always bought into whatever the heck I'm doing creatively, even just my own internal narrative about what's going on in my life at any given moment. I buy in big time, but I buy in, at least lately, in a very serious way. Can you buy into it in a goofy way, though? Can you buy in and go, let's just have some fun with this? This is reality. Let's goof off. Like, Incredible Crisis is such an interesting game for this conversation. Incredible Crisis is a game about incredibly stressed out characters, and you have to manage their stress to get through levels. Like, as you make mistakes, they get more stressed out, and eventually their head kind of explodes. Like, steam comes flying out of the head of the little stress meter. It's very cool. It has great music. I've talked about it before. And it's kind of the perfect game to talk about with this, because it is extremely weird and goofy and has like aliens and stuff, and like it's just a weird, bizarre little game with weird music and dumb little characters and all sorts of odd stuff going on. And it's so charming and so serious. But the angle of it being serious is like, look at this guy freaking out about this scenario that would never happen, which you would also freak out about if you were in this scenario and you are feeling stressed out playing this game. You're freaking out because this guy's got a boulder chasing him, right? Or it's just scenarios that are extremely stressful, and the game is simulating those for you, and you're getting stressed out, and then simultaneously you stop playing the game and you're like, that's insane. That's such a goofy game. It's so bizarre. It's so dumb. It's so like over the top. The characters are too much, and it's great. And you feel stressed. You feel it in your body. You feel it in your bones. Your neck is tight, and you're like, why is my neck tight? I was just helping this goofy businessman get through his day. But it's such an effective stress simulator. Cook Serve Delicious does this too. It is a stress simulator with weird, goofy parodies of like a post-apocalyptic world. And it's so over the top and so committed to its internal rules of what is going on. It's a beautiful thing. I love a how do I put this? A sort of parody of how seriously we take everything. It's bizarre. It's hard to express, but there are games which make you go, oh my God, this is so stressful and so important, and oh my God, it's the worst thing ever, and I have to get this right. And then you step away from it and you go, that's what? This is like a post-apocalyptic food truck thing where like I'm being attacked by other food trucks in like a weird wasteland that has all this bizarre lore about it. I'm talking about Cook Serve Delicious 3, by the way. It's got food trucks. It's interesting. And like you're like trying to just cook people hot dogs while another food truck is like machine gunning you down and taking out some of your prep stations. It's great, by the way. Extremely hard. Very stressful game. It has some modes that are less stressful, but like you buy into it and you are stressing out. Or at least I am. But it's so fun. And then you step away from it and you're like, I love that game. What a dumb little stressful experience I just had. And is part of that just me looking at that game and going, maybe all the things I get really stressed out about are not that important. Maybe all the things I get that stressed out about are as goofy as the stress that I'm experiencing when I play Cook Serve Delicious 3. You get what I'm saying? Like, you ever have a stressful experience in life and then you finish it and you look back on it and you go, what was I even stressing about? That's goofy. That was no big deal. And in retrospect, even if it had turned out differently, it probably would have been fine. And I love games that give us some version of that experience. And maybe more importantly, I'm reaching this point where I really want to lean in on the goofing off side of it. Not the taking it seriously, but the, hey, let's have a goofy time. And then we can build some rules around it and all of this stuff. But let's goof off and create something for other people to pretend is reality for a moment. When I started recording this episode, I thought the message was just gonna be goofy, goof off, have a good time, stop taking it seriously, just take some time to absolutely goof off. And right now, I'm kind of feeling like that's true. And then there's this complicated layer to it of getting invested in the things that you're goofing off about. And I'm trying to map this to playing games as a child, making up games as a child, because I think that is a very pure, beautiful starting point for creativity. I think there is something nice about looking at how you made things as a kid and leaning into that and going, okay, well, what can we embrace that a little bit and then go from there, rather than starting from this place of like, oh, people are going to judge me and I need this to be good so I can show it to people, so I can sell it, so I can do whatever else. Can we let go of all of that? Or maybe not we. I don't want to project this onto you. You decide what you want to do. But can I let go of all of that stuff and just goof off in the way that I did when I first started loving making stuff up? I remember one time when I was on a walk with my sister, and this was as an adult actually. I was majoring in music, and my sister asked me something about chamber music and why it's called chamber music. And I was like, well, that's because the chamber musicians were at that point mostly hired by royalty. Nobody could afford to just have chamber musicians come over to their home and perform for them. They were hired by royalty, and you know how today we like listening to music while we're in the bathroom? Well, that's actually an old human instinct. It's been something we've always liked. I guess we're used to listening to birds chirp or something. I don't really know, but in olden days, you familiar with the term chamber pot? Well, you also had your chamber musicians who would go in there with you and play some soft music for you to help you relax. And the royalty thought that this was a nice, healthy thing. And I made all of this up, right? This is so not true. And I had so much fun like watching her reaction and presenting it in exactly the way that sounded just believable enough, and deadpanning it and kind of convincing myself that this was reality, and just going, yeah, no, this is exactly how it went. And I know that's like mean and pulling a cruel little trick on somebody, but I immediately revealed the joke to her. And I was like, oh, I made all that up. That was not true at all. And she's like, wow, you did a really good job at that. I was like, oh, thanks. And in that moment, I was tuning into this little devious part of me that likes to just make something up and pretend it's real for a second, and then break it and go, okay, that's not. But it was kind of cool, right? Like you kind of for a second you could visualize royalty like hiring these musicians and these musicians being like, oh god, dang it. The king's got to drop one again, and like, man, it's going to be rough. And I got to go take deep breaths in there and play my French horn while he's ripping one. And like, I know, like, he doesn't want the queen to hear him, so I'm going to be playing nice and loud if she walks by, and so on, right? It's a fun, fake world to live in. But that's not the same as just pure goofing off. And this is this line that I'm really interested in. Because it's fun to just be like, what is the goofiest, most ridiculous thing? And then just do that. But then it gets more fun if you start adding these layers on it. And as much as I want to say to myself, Chris, just goof off, there's a part of me that's like, no, you got to do a little more, bud. You got to do a little more than that. We got to have a little more fun with it, man. It can't just be goofy. You can't just be like, what if a banana had eyeballs? And immediately I say that, and then I go, okay, but if a banana did have eyeballs, what are the repercussions of that? You know? And I think that's where the juice is for me. Taking some dumb little idea and really rolling with it. I think that, I'm sorry, this is now such a self-serving episode, but I'm excited about it. I'm leaning into it. And hello, you're my diary right now. Thank you. As I was saying, I like to really overcommit to an idea and roll with the consequences of it. This is also, a side note, how my anxiety functions a little bit. But in the creative space, it can be very fun. So if we take a look at bananas with eyeballs, we start having some other questions about it. My first instinct is to go, okay, well, they must have a whole personality. But let's limit it. Let's lock down the scope creep. What if they're just bananas with eyeballs? And let's say the eyeballs function a little bit, right? So they can... What happens with them? These are the questions. Do the eyeballs watch you in the grocery store? Do they watch specific people? Does this become a way that people judge how good their outfit is? They're walking through the grocery store and they're like, dude, all the bananas were looking at me today. I was rocking it. I look so good with this new haircut. As I was leaning to pick up bananas, normally they avert their eyes from me because they're like, I don't want to get eaten by this guy. But this week, these bananas were staring at my new bob cut. I'm looking like Lord Farquaad out here, and those bananas love it. So I know you've been saying that you don't like the Farquaad cut, but man, these bananas, they speak the truth, and they say you're wrong. Sorry, I got really committed to that. Or do the bananas look away in fear? Do they look at each other? Can you go to the supermarket and you go to the produce section and you look at like the bananas on the edge of the banana section are like looking at the other fruits and like kind of like trying to defend the barriers of their region of this world? Is there an implication of a whole society within each little grocery store? Are there bananas that are facing each other that are locking eyes and kind of like, making little goo-goo eyes at each other? What happens when you peel the banana? Is it okay? Is there any indication of it feeling pain or pleasure? Is there any indication of a nervous system? Do we stop eating bananas? Do we not like giving bananas to monkeys anymore? Does this cause problems with like food supplies for zoos? How long ago did this start? Because I think there's a big difference between a society that is built around bananas that have eyeballs and a society that suddenly has bananas with eyeballs. Like if it's a society built around bananas with eyeballs, we're eating those eyeballs, or we've at least tried it. Like somebody has figured that out and gone, here's the best way to prepare banana eyeballs. I know it's kind of the waste. And then maybe we have some structure around that where everybody goes, I don't really like them. They're kind of a delicacy. I kind of let them go. And then somebody else is like, I can't believe you're wasting part of the bananas. Do you have any idea the damage it does to the environment. You can easily use them as fertilizer for your garden. I just don't like grinding them up. It's kind of gross. Like there's that element. Or we've got the society in which one day all bananas just have eyeballs now. Right? One day, I just got very self-conscious about this whole segment, this whole bit that I'm doing. So if it's grossing you out, I apologize. But I'm going with it because I'm having a lot of fun right now. One day, it just happens. What happens then? Also, are these inlaid? Are they flush with the banana? Are they are they flush with the banana, or are they like sticking out? Are there sockets? Do you know what I mean? Like when you peel the banana, you know what? Let's not go there. It's too much. Also, does this settle the debate about which side of the banana you're supposed to peel from? The bottom, by the way, not the stem. It is the bottom. That is the way to peel a banana. I was converted. Fully believe this. By the way, this is the kind of deranged thing that I would normally do on Twitch. This is why I miss Twitch streaming, because this is so fun for me, these kind of thought experiments. So I'm sorry that hasn't come back yet, but at least you're getting a little bit of my insane shenanigans here instead of the more structured normal episode. The point that I'm getting at, let's bring this back. Let's pull this back a little bit away from the banana peels. You can have your own thought experiment with that. I know I will. For me, committing to a dumb little idea like that is so much fun. Taking the consequences of it and just rolling with it and going, where can we go? Because even the idea, an idea as simple as bananas have eyeballs, has so many weird consequences in society, in terms of the bananas, in terms of like, is there a humane society around it? When did it start? So on and so on. Think of all the creative possibilities of every single idea you could possibly have. And this is why I get overwhelmed. But also, man, that's fun. And I feel like that's the balance I'm talking about. Taking something absurd that you're kind of like, oh, this is fun, and rolling with it and going, yeah, no, this is the world we live in now. And really playing with that. I love that. I really, really enjoy doing that. But in order to do that, I kind of have to approach it first from a place of, we're just goofing off. And then lean into all of the consequences and start taking them as reality. And I think too often I have taken them as, I've looked at it and I've gone, this is serious work. I'm creating something. I'm creating this grand vision, and other people need to understand what's coming from my mind. And oh, isn't it so interesting and fascinating? The human condition. How can I help others relate to this element of the human condition? Like, I can go down that whole rabbit hole. Sure. Or I can explore bananas with eyes, and that can say something about reality. And I really like the second one. And there's a part of me that really resists that and says, no, dude. That's not interesting enough. But it is so interesting. And I like it so much. And I know that I went really off the rails with this section, but now we're going to bring this to a close. So thank you for listening to all of that. This week's discussion question is about goofy games and suspension of disbelief and where your line is. Basically, the question is just this. At what point does a game get a bit too ridiculous for you? Too ludicrous, too far gone? Or maybe too abstract? But where is the line for you where you go, I can't buy in? At what point does a game lose your ability to buy into it? It could be it's too serious. It could be it's too goofy. It could just be the themes of the game. But what makes you go, I don't buy into this. This isn't for me. That's all I've got for you. That's the episode this week. I had a lot of fun with that one. I don't know if you could tell, but that was nice. That's how I want to feel when I'm creating things. And I don't know. I hope that some of that joy at least came across, but I hope it was sort of transmitted to you through this audio and made you go, yeah, making stuff is really fun. And I want to goof off a little bit and make my own little weird fake reality. All right, that is everything I've got for you. As always, until next time, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.